And I would like to welcome Reverend William Parsons III from Redeemer Lutheran Church for the opening prayer. And please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Amen. Heavenly Father, guardian and keeper of your people, watch over those who are entrusted with the administration of Fairhope, Alabama, and its government. Make them pure and honest. Keep them from temptation and bribery, from favoritism or prejudice, from indolence and the neglect of duty. Create in them an earnest desire to serve faithfully, to attend to their efforts, that their work may not suffer from mediocrity. Permit them to experience the joys of noble service completed for a grateful people. Encourage cooperation from those who are served and from those who help to serve. Use every willing service and every effort to put forth for good government. Bless the rule over your people here in Fairhope, and that your will may be accomplished among them. Promote all the things for the good of the kingdom of your Son, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, council, getting into it. Item number 1 is to approve the minutes of the January 23rd regular city council meeting and work session.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Council, any additions or changes to those minutes? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Item number 2 is report of the mayor. No voice, no report, huh? Thank you, Mayor. All right, item number 3 is public participation for agenda items. So if you have comment on items number 5 through 19, now is your opportunity.
Good evening, council members. My name is Gary Gover. I live at 300 Lincoln Street in Fairhope. My comment has to do with agenda item 13, which is includes the master planning for the redevelopment of the K1 Center. I noticed that in the contractor's proposal, there are additional services available if needed, which include an environmental analysis, steering committee, and public engagement. I'd like to recommend that in your deliberations tonight, you consider these additional services. I think that they are probably very important to the success of a master plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're already doing that.
Anyone else? All right, hearing none, I will close public participation and move on to item number 4, council comments. Councilman Burrell.
Yeah, I want to give you I missed the committee updates in the work session, so I do want to mention something, and I don't know if any of you have talked to Mayor Sullivan about this or not, but in the airport authority, we just entered into a new contract with a realtor, Ashurst Niemeyer, and they are, we had previously marketed that west side as one parcel, and we now have a plan that if you haven't seen it, I'd like for you to review it and give it your blessings, if you will, but it is breaking that into multiple lots, something that we think is much more marketable so that we can, do something, not only develop that land and maybe have some light industry, it would be good tax revenue, but also to get that off the books, really, of the city, who's been funding that for many years now. But to that end, there is a private road that is off of 4-lane 98. And we've never thought about having access to that west side off of 98. We've always looked at 32 or off of the drive just south of the airport. What's the name of that drive, Mayor? Is that commercial? That's not commercial, is it? McGowan Drive, which is on the south end of the runway, not all the way at the south end, but pretty far to the south. And but we may have an opportunity to take over a private drive, which will give us just probably superior access to the airport property now. So as we are working, the airport authority and the mayor are working with these owners of this to just take over the maintenance of these roads. I want to make you aware of that if you weren't already. I think it's gonna make all those lots that were interior prior, you know, very valuable. So it's gonna make it all a lot easier to market.
Good. That's good.
If we're able to work out something with the owners.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah. All right. Councilman Martin?
I don't have anything, sir.
Councilman Conyers?
Just thank you to the members of KOER for putting on a good parade Saturday night. Enjoyed that very much. Also, congratulations to the Fairhope Middle School cheerleaders who just came back from Orlando, came in 7th in the nation in cheerleading. So
All right.
You don't happen to be related to any of them.
might be related to one of those.
Yeah, congratulations, baby
So,
girl.
Great job.
Yeah, they're very, very exciting for them,
Yeah.
so.
Councilman Boone?
I'd like to give a little kudos to the city employees for this past Saturday night and putting together a nice fenced area. And then I went out afterwards just to look around, and the work that they do to clean this town back up is phenomenal. And I really hope everybody appreciates the fact that they praise are enjoyed by everybody, and the next day the town looks fabulous, and strictly due to the city employees. So I want to thank them very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that goes unrecognized a lot, is how quickly, not that they get done, but how quickly that stuff happens, and how everything's back to normal. And so that is an underappreciated service that we do have here for sure. With that said, I don't have anything else, so we'll go right into item number 5, which is final adoption. To amend ordinance number 1317 and 1572, known as the Fly Creek PUD. The property of Highlands at Fairhope Village LLC is approximately 11.76 acres and is generally located on the north and south side of Cordy Ridge Road and east of the Publix on US 98 in Fairhope.
Thank you. My name's Hunter Simmons, the planning director, and kind of as customary, we have already heard these during the planning commission. We've heard these at the last council meeting, and we discussed in the work session, so I'll go through these pretty quick. If there's any questions, I'm certainly here to answer them. This is an amendment to the Fly Creek PUD. This is 11.76 acres portion of that original PUD, and in the simplest format, this is impacting the 90 townhome unit section, and it was to modify the live work to townhomes, to reconfigure a road network, and to also modify the unit mix and change the elevations and architectural styling of the buildings. The property you see on the right is the portion of this PUD affected. There, as you can see, there's some of the red lines internally there. There's already some townhome lots created and 5 units are built. And on the south end, you see the apartments that was part of this phased amendment in 2006 that are already constructed. The really differences here in the PUD, this is the 3rd amendment of this PUD. The property is developing as originally. Units changes are not being increased, nor are the details like building height, the wetland buffers. All of those things are not being amended. From the original PUD, this portion was amended to, and including the apartments were amended in 2006 with the layout you see on the screen. In 2019, this was the approved MOP site plan that was approved at Planning Commission that started the 5 buildings that are currently constructed. Here's a quick overlay of what we saw with this application to add Cedar Mill in blue and to realign Bascom Way. This has since been amended, so I'm going to show you. These were kind of the conditions that went to Planning Commission, and we actually removed the Bascom Way, and I'll show you that plan. So Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval with the three conditions above. I'm going to show you how that changed. Some of those things were corrected. Won't get into this, but that's the kind of component that was originally labeled live work. 2006 was amended showing townhomes, left out of the plan completely in 2019. We did talk about some options there for commercial, but I think it was within the right of the amended PUD of 2006 to allow townhomes. The plan on the left, on the bottom of this screen, is what we originally saw with Bascom Way connecting to existing Cordy Ridge Road. The aerial is what it looks like today. There was some proposed of actually taking that island out. And kind of when you look at this, the building was too close to the road for one thing, and then we really didn't want to see any changes to the island we've just recently accepted for maintenance. So the plan in this detail was amended to take out that entrance completely. It moved to the east. And then we also saw the detailed plans. I think those are in your packets of more of the buildings and also the front elevations of these buildings that resulted in this plan coming to you today. So those things were addressed. We do have a recommendation of approval. The buildings, with three conditions, the buildings shall fall within any established setbacks and allow room for required landscape buffers. A formal site plan MOP project shall be conducted. And then final layout of the sidewalk, trails, and crosswalks will be approved during the follow-up MOP occupancy review case. I've highlighted this condition because it was not there at the Planning Commission. It's here and something we're recommending for you. When we did receive this plan, there are some perimeter sidewalks, but there's also in the original PUD a trail and some in green space that didn't get finalized, so we'll look at that in that follow-up MOP. But there's your recommendation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address any of those. The applicant and Dewberry's engineer are here, if you have any questions for them as well.
All right, council, I know we discussed this in the work session, but does anybody have any additional questions for Hunter or the developer at this stage?
Yeah, I want to get a clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
I'd asked the question about the green space in the work session, and I was looking through, maybe it's on Exhibit B. It says actually that the green space increased to 37%. There was a letter from Dewberry in there, so maybe it actually increased. Is that, can you give me which is the?
So, and I
work session,
will.
you thought it went down by back like
A
tenth of a percent or something, but.
And it was a little hard because, as you saw in the 2019 plan, this acreage here was not included. So can you clarify if the green space increased or decreased overall percentage-wise?
It actually decreased.
Okay.
I mean, excuse me, the impervious surface decreased, the green space increased.
That's right.
So we actually have more capacity
It's
for
more.
our stormwater systems
I read it.
than previously.
That's the way I read
It is
it.
minute, I'm not talking large numbers.
Right.
But it is in a positive direction.
Yeah, it is not a decrease.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And I did see that it looks like the total number of units does remain at 330, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
So you probably took 8 units from somewhere to the east and moved them down to the southwest, I guess. Is that right?
It was the same number of units as shown in this plan from 2006.
Right.
So the 2019 plan had fewer units. I believe this was 78. But again, that did not include the portion of land that's highlighted on the screen here. So those 8 units, so that would have been a total of 86, so 4 more units squeezed in
Up top.
from since 2019, but still meets the 2006 plan as and that's the last zoning amendment.
The trails, Hunter, I know that's been a speakeasy from the beginning of this project, the importance of the environmental trails to make sure that we get those done. And we're still waiting for approval of those, or we have a clear understanding or direction as far as those trails getting done?
So I think the main focus in getting in front of you was really along Cordy Ridge Road. We worked with the applicant as well as Dewberry because that's going to be a frontage there, and those buildings at front and how that sidewalk, and you also got some topography to work with. So we did see, that's kind of been revised and something we're happy to see this kind of pull away from the road. It actually goes up closer to the buildings where it's flatter, meaning less grading, a lot of, and you actually have some front yards. Really what I'm inferring is the internal network of
Pedestrian connectivity?
yes, the connectivity outside is great. Getting to the use of, and again, I can pull up here, it's easier to see. When we get to preliminary plat, there's that level of detail. And you can see the trails within the internal green spaces on this plan. We're just at the schematic on the zoning, so we've got that in the roadways. I hope to see this same level of detail when we get to the MOP.
Very good. One last question, if I may, Council Chair.
Please.
There was a private road, correct, family, somewhere, or we were going to create a private road? Are we still doing that?
All of the roads within, it's kind of hard to see on this plan, but there's 3 roads here that are private. The only public road is Cordy Ridge Road, and it's already constructed. So everything that's constructed as part of this that hasn't been already will be a private road.
Okay. Very good.
Council, any additional questions at this point?
I just have one more comment I want to make
Go
for the
ahead.
record, and that's one of the same comments I made in the work session, was that while this particular project's not giving me a lot of heartache, we do need to, I want to just throw up a yellow flag and caution everyone of, taking everything that's set aside for commercial or retail or mixed use and turn it into rooftops into living spaces, because I think that's easy to do in this city. And to be a city, we have to have some mix. And if we're not careful, we'll be nothing but a community of bedrooms, like I said. And I just bringing it up now for future discussions, because we don't want to make a habit. I think this should be an exception to the rule, and it also should be an exception to the rule of changing PUDs that have been through so many iterations, but this one in particular doesn't give me heartache.
All right, clerk, will you call the question?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
Council President, place 4,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, motion carries. Item number 6 is final adoption to amend ordinance number 1402, known as the Idlewild PUD. The property of Fairhope East LLC is approximately 10 acres and is generally located on the west side of State Highway 181, south of Fairhope Avenue in Fairhope, Alabama. This was introduced at the January 23rd council meeting.
Thank you. So I'm going to kind of move through this. This is a PUD that was approved in 2010. The acreage is on the screen. You can see that light blue color, and you can see the aerial on the right. That shows the 10 acres, and for general purposes, that is across Walmart, Highway 181 from Walmart. Now, the previously approved PUD consisted of 5 lots with a list of uses. Otherwise, it didn't have many details. It broke the site into lots, generally showed where the detention would be, and showed a service road. We'll kind of point out here, you see what is uncommon here. We do not have connectivity from the Idlewild residential subdivision. A little history on that one. That came out of the Planning Commission with a road that connected to 181. Even during that PUD, it made it to council, and that was taken out for the sake of the residents in that area. So when we received this, we kind of follow the same rules with science of muddling through. We're not reinventing the wheel. So we received the proposed PUD on the right. As you'll see at the end, we did not require road connectivity, but are requiring pedestrian and even low-speed vehicle connectivity within this site plan. This plan, unlike just a blank slate, is showing they've got a rough draft of the drainage. And so what I'll tell you there, and one of the things we looked at, when you're adding this much detail, go ahead and get a comfort level of where your drainage is going to be, your traffic, and this is a PUD that's already produced a traffic report, a drainage plan, and proposing a 2-story hotel at the site here, and then a mix of office space, retail, with, I believe, only 4 residential units on top of the professional office buildings. Full list of uses are here with a square footage. You can see where the parking is and the big brick pavers mainly. They've already drafted a shared parking agreement, which allows some flexibility from our standard parking requirements. Hours are going to be different for different businesses, so there's a reduction in the overall required, but everybody that comes in there will have to sign that agreement, understanding this is the parking that is there. And they're also creating kind of an internal mall to access that, so you can walk in this internal mall. And then this line here, and this might change a little bit as we work through the MOP, but this is a boardwalk, kind of hence the name of this is they're proposing the boardwalk instead of Idlewild PUD of the center, if you will. And there is wetlands here adjacent to 181, so the boardwalk will be designed to transverse the edge of that buffer. That will provide the pedestrian connectivity to the north, and then to the south, there's a sidewalk coming through and will connect back to 181. There's an aerial of the site as it is today, and you can see adjacent to Idlewild, you see this kind of buffer of trees. There's actually a drainage in there from where the pond of Idlewild follows this tree line, comes into the wetland area, and then goes under 181 and south to Cowpen Creek, ultimately winds up in Cowpen Creek. In general, what they're doing is creating, I won't call it a wetland, but it is a depression similar to a detention pond. But when you see their landscape plan, it is not the big hole in the wall with very steep sides. This is designed to be attractive and provide the drainage as well. But a lot of the drainage and treatment's held here through the stream, and then they're going to handle anything that's accumulating here in their treatment. It's kind of how it lays out. That's facing north. The same area, we've got a flyover of the site. I'm trying to see how we can skip that slide. There we go. Some of the architectural guidelines, again, until there might be some small changes in this, but this sets up the tone they're going for with the architecture, heights. There is one exception to the height, that they're going over the allowable 30 feet in this area, and that's for these parapet walls to hide roof equipment. I think that's a good use of this. Within the PUD, we can certainly do that. And that would be the facade facing Highway 181. Here's kind of a layout zoomed in of the hotel space. Do point out they are protecting some of there's 3 existing oak trees on site, and really designing around that. The specifics that we don't have to go over unless you have questions. We did make one change, and I'll highlight it here. The setback is 118 feet instead of 60. That 60 foot was a highway construction setback, but the buildings won't start till 120 feet or 118 feet off of Highway 181, which is actually greater than the previously approved PUD. Some of the details on lighting, as we talked about parking, the green
Go back
space
to that,
plan.
please.
Yes, sir. So now, one thing, and get in detail on the lighting, there's 24-foot maximum height. That's what they've proposed. The current light plan that we receive, which usually we don't receive that at this stage, We do not allow any light candles to penetrate across the property line, meaning you can't shine lights in your neighbor's property. The current plan does have that, so, you know, if this doesn't work, we know when we get to the MOP, that will have to be corrected.
Yeah, we've talked about, oh, go ahead, Judge.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about that, Hunter, at the beginning of this, when I was on the planning commission. I thought the architectural experienced people were asking you about these lights maybe coming from the ground. Remember that? That was a conversation? Instead of having them deflect over, they would literally come into the property. Is that off the table, or?
No, sir. We at this stage, so you were on the planning commission when we saw this PUD
Yeah.
amendment. We're still in the zoning function.
I understand.
That's the level of detail that we will certainly, and we've brought it to their attention, everybody knows, that we will look at in detail when we get to the MOP.
Yes, okay.
So this is what they're proposing. What we're gonna look at here, there's a height of 24 feet max in lieu of what we allow standard, so that's what they're asking for. But that doesn't mean that they won't have to accommodate all of the other light penetration. So, and there's a few ways to do that. There's shields that can be put on lights to keep it from, you know, basically you only have 180 degrees of light. There's lowering, there's light bollards. There's different methods we can use.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, what jumped out at me on that page was not the lighting, but is the parking comment there that we just flipped right past. 228 parking spaces proposed, 276 required to meet our ordinance.
If we apply just the flat basis of every square footage of every use. But as I mentioned before, they have and we allow this within our ordinance. You don't have to meet those requirements when an applicant develops a shared parking agreement. So they take in, somebody that lives in upstairs is not going to may not be there during the day, or different hours of businesses, have different peak times. So you accommodate that overall plan in a shared parking agreement. That instead of having 40% of your parking sitting empty all day, this is actually good design when you know what each of the uses are and they don't conflict. Now, one of the things we require is actually that parking agreement, and every tenant will have to sign that. So at some point down the road, they don't come to the city and say, hey, we need to fill in our pond so we can get more parking over here. This is what we're all agreeing to, and this is the shared parking model. So it may be that one business is vacant and it doesn't have a peak hour, you know, that conflicts with something that's
You know,
existing.
they build it and they've spent tens of millions of dollars and they can't get everybody to sign the agreement. And they go, well, we can't get them to sign the agreement. Then what do? You have to backpedal, let them go? What do you do?
No, they
Forgive
don't.
them?
They don't get a business license.
Is that really gonna happen? I'll bet you $1,000 right now, you would never enforce that on a business if they put that much money in it. I'll bet you $1,000 right now.
Is that legal?
$1,000. I'll
You won't
shake
do
her. I will. Will it?
City of Fairhope won't do it to them. Won't do it.
I don't know that I can condone gambling in the city council meeting,
Is that legal? Can we do that?
but I get your point.
Draft.
Yes, we do
I'm
that.
trying to make a point.
I
We,
get
we
your
do
point.
that. We just made Starbucks,
Catch a
and that,
sponsor.
that shopping center redesigned their whole plan, restriped, to accommodate a shared parking agreement that could work for that center. So to say we don't do that, absolutely
I'm
we
not
do.
saying we
No,
don't
he's talking about the
enforce
business
it. I'd like
license.
to see you enforce it after somebody's put about 20 million in the ground there, and they can't get everybody to sign it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you go on, but I've got some more questions, speaking of filling in the retention pond.
Okay. Let's see, we did have some landscape questions, and there was a crowd at the planning commission. And a lot of it had to do with the construction and how the buffer would be. These are the screening requirements that was proposed at the previous PUD. Those are being met, but I do want to go ahead and pull this up. There's a 20-foot drainage easement along the property line, and then there was also a required 20-foot landscape buffer. And working with the applicant, they flipped those two things so that hopefully at least 20 feet of that can be preserved. and then the other 20 feet filled in with, this is a revised plan. And here's the pond we were talking about. So to add some clarification on what that looks like, that's not a steep pond that you see a lot of times without any landscape in it. It's intended to blend, and you can see the plants, and those are larger trees and smaller grasses to kind of create that area. And being part of PDD, this is the plan that we would want to see followed up with at the MOP, and that's when construction starts. So there's a blow up of that area where the drainage is. We've got I think the full landscape schedule is in your packet if you want to see all the details of what those are. Connectivity, as we discussed, this is on Orleans Drive in the Idlewild residential subdivision. We want to make sure that a connectivity is made that's both pedestrian and wide enough to allow low-speed vehicles, commonly referred to as golf carts, from that residential neighborhood. It cannot work as drawn on this plan, but again, it gets back to the details of where we're at this stage versus where we will be at the MOP. They're still working on the drainage, so that might be a boardwalk. That might have to be a culvert to handle the drainage, and actually a little more substantial, I won't call it a road, but paved area going into the parking lot. But that is the intent, but it cannot reside within parking for that cannot reside within this utility drainage easement. We are accommodating the pedestrian connectivity in all other ways. As we said, there's a boardwalk to the north and sidewalks connecting to the south. There is not sidewalks adjacent to this property to the south on 181. And they've also provided the signage of the subdivision, or the monument sign, if you will, at the front on 181. Their traffic study did require a turn lanes, as well as this is right at the entrance of this is right at the light at Walmart. There will have to be mast arms put in at minimum. Could even be to the point where new poles have to be put in to have the lights facing this intersection. So it'll be an upgrade of the existing lights at that intersection. Here's the drainage highlighted where that goes. That's where I referred to with the buffer of trees. That's kind of hiding the drainage. Uniquely, the pond that's in the Idlewild residential subdivision, half of that pond was sold with this property. So it ties the maintenance of that pond and functionality of that pond with this owner. They become almost partners on the maintenance of the pond there, even though it's off-site. And this shows that. This is the wetland delineation map. Here is that pond, and I believe about half of that, we can look at the property boundary if you need to, but about half of that pond is owned by the new owner of this property. So you see the blue line where it drains, and then this is just delineated as wetlands. Here, and this is the revised grading plan, so let's fix that. So what you didn't see in the planning commission, these grading lines came all the way to the property line, which, as anybody knows, that's going to require everything to be cleared. And ultimately, it might be new plantings and everything, but what has been revised since planning commission was kind of moving these contour lines in, being able to preserve this space, and then being able to plant within that bank for additional buffers. Here is a higher detail of the pond. There is a boardwalk detail, and there's drainage from the upper parking area into the pond will be underneath elevated boardwalks. There's a cross-section of the trees being preserved in the drive aisle that will be one-way circulation from the red light. And as we said, here's the approaches that are being proposed. The developer will install those approaches and again, a light facing this intersection. And we'll work with AlDOT to accommodate where those mast arms, if they could be used utilizing existing poles or if they'll have to be located on new poles. So again, we will see this as a multiple occupancy project where we will look at some of the more detailed items in here. But what I will tell you, a lot of times we see a PUD, somebody just wants to get that approved as a very rudimentary sketch, if you will. This has more detail than we see in most PUDs. It's not perfect. We will handle that at the MOP. So Planning Commission did recommend this for approval. They had 4 conditions at the time. As you can see, I've struck through 3 of them because those have been clarified. That left 1, provide a strong landscape buffer to provide screening such as evergreens in addition to providing significant light pollution prevention to be reviewed at the time of multiple occupancy project approval. And then we added 1 from, just to be clear, what got advertised was a 60-foot front right-of-way. On the bottom, we added condition 2 that the front setback shall be 118 feet as shown on the site plan. And we did recommend approval as well. Be happy to answer any questions on this one.
Okay, council, any additional questions for Hunter at this time?
Yeah, Hunter, my biggest concern, if you can go back to a plan view of that and show 181, I see the detention pond is actually pushed back to the west now. There was another one, I thought I saw it closer to one. Yes, go back, you had it on the right one.
Yeah.
No, go back to
That one, okay.
Go back to that. So my biggest concern, I think we have a need for something like this. I think it's in a good location for the development like this. What's going to happen when AlDOT wants to 4-lane? I know you said you had some setbacks, but when they need to come in there and acquire a right-of-way to put the 4-lane through there, how much is that going to cut into the setbacks? How much is it going to cut into the wetlands? And is it going to eat into all the buffer that we required them to have?
So let me show you a better one to answer that question.
I saw one note. Yeah, I saw that note that says are within highway construction setbacks, but does that eat up all the, whatever that very last slide you showed
No.
about how much you were recommending to be required?
Right. So this buffer against the residential property it's on private property. This is the highway construction setback line. So anything, there's none of the drainage they're proposing lies within that. They're basically leaving the wetlands untouched other than putting a boardwalk across this area here. And now.
Go back to that highway setback though.
Yes.
I mean, that line is coming back and eating up 100% of the green space out in front of the development, is it not?
So, and what we've seen on some of these AlDOT projects, where it's at, a lot of the expansion's already been done here and will be moving to the east with what's left. So this note is to memorialize, they're gonna have to, any buffer, and there is some buffer, it's very astute, some of those trees have to be within the first portion of the property. That 20-foot is not on 181, but that's still a buffer. If AlDOT approves this, and I tend to think they will because.
Does AlDOT have to approve this?
I want to check and make sure they do not need this. And if they do, what'll happen is that parallel parking here will have to be moved out. You can see kind of the brick pavers. That will have to be moved, and this landscape moved inside that highway construction setback. So technically, the highway construction setback does not apply inside the city limits. Now, we still want to work with the AlDOT as they have projects. If we know they're going to want to acquire property, we want to work with them. But most of, I think, the expansion is moving to the east in
I
this
thought they were
area.
trying to acquire everything. Just to be honest, I thought they were acquiring everything to the west.
Yeah.
They're gonna go.
This is
over
already,
98.
most of the work here's already been acquired. The right-of-way here has been,
Okay, is it on the east side?
Some of it's on the east, no, some of it's on that side.
How much would it need into this?
It should not even.
most of that's north of here. This is, they've kind of already went through the acquisition phases in,
I feel like we need to know that answer.
We talked about this, and I thought we said AlDOT was gonna come and vet this as far as,
again, we have another review at this where we will look at specifically those details.
That's what I-
And
yeah.
we've already accounted for it.
Okay.
That parallel parking goes away, the landscape moves inside. And that's, one thing we're thinking about is a required landscape buffer on most important roads in Fairhope. That has not that's in our tree ordinance. That is not on 181, not a requirement of 181. So,
It's a PUD, we can put anything we want in there.
and they have shown it, and that's why we're memorializing these comments now. That has to move inside that highway construction setback if we can accommodate. We've seen some other projects where AlDOT's already acquired right-of-way, they know where things are going, and they haven't had a problem with something like this.
If you take that out, how much does that eliminate the green space, and then what does your percentage look like? It looks like it eliminates 75% of the green space in there.
So the green space is kind of, being a PUD, they can do something creative, so instead of
Once
just
again, we
having.
keep talking about what's allowed.
Yeah.
But
Well, and let me show, where is our plan? It's color-coded one. So there's a preserve. We're not touching some things that's shown in blue. As you can see on their percentage of green space, nothing within that highway construction setback is accounted for. We did not let them count that because we don't know
Good.
100%
That's good.
if that, but then there's a combination of kind of the plaza, the formal open space. It's shown in pink, and then we do have some more beautification green space that's shown. But being a PUD, this is a little more flexible than our hard rules, but they are showing the percentage and meeting this and showing that total open space, as they're titling it, is a total of 21.5% of the site. And that does not include that 60 feet deep highway construction setback.
nor does it include the culvert that they're leaving natural and the trees they're gonna plant in the back, correct?
It does not.
That's right, so that'll be, yeah. that'll be-
So you can see those two 20-foot strips are also, a portion of it is, where it's shown in
I
blue,
see that a little bit, but.
but
for the
nothing
majority.
within the 60 feet.
Mhm.
So anything we get out there is going to be an additional.
One more question. Did I hear you say that there's connectivity to Idlewild?
Yes. So,
Do the people in Idlewild want connectivity to this? Because if I'm staying in a hotel and I need to get to town, I'm gonna go through the subdivision.
not
'Cause I don't wanna
driving
make
through.
sure-
Golf
It's
cart.
walking.
Yeah.
Oh, only pedestrian?
Yeah.
Pedestrian and
golf
low-speed
cart.
vehicles,
Yeah.
so.
And
All
then
right.
he
I
said
was gonna say, I
that,
can't imagine they like
and
that.
it still may not happen because they gotta work out the drainage, from what I understand.
Well, it's going to happen.
Well,
We just,
something's
how it
different,
works
how
out.
it happens will be
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Last question, if I may, Chair. The name is gonna change to Broad.
Right now,
Boardwalk?
they're Boardwalk, and that's the
Boardwalk
commercial, not the
Village?
name of the zoning case, but
Boardwalk
Boardwalk
Village.
Village, I believe, is
Okay, all right.
what
So it's not out.
their working title. I believe that's what's shown on their sign.
Yeah.
Come back around.
Hang around, wait.
Yep, Boardwalk Village.
All right. Council, any other comments or questions for Hunter at this time?
Just my last comment is that if I'm gonna vote for this, I want some kind of guarantees that if they acquire that AlDOT's okay with that, and that they can literally, if they move that road up against that, take up all that 60-foot buffer, it's gotta be ironclad, they're gonna move that landscape buffer inside of that, or I'm not supporting it.
Okay. We can handle that with a condition,
Yeah.
if you would like.
You want to make that motion for final adoption
Yeah, I'll do
condition on
that.
it?
I'll make the motion for final adoption upon staff recommendations, and also with the additional condition that they will meet the, is it the landscape buffer, is that the way you say it? I mean,
You can, perimeter landscape requirements is what I
perimeter,
would,
that they meet the perimeter landscape requirement should,
within the.
For
with-
Aldine.
Within the highway
should
construction.
the highway
center.
take up all of the 60-foot, what would you call that set aside? What did you call it?
Highway construction setback.
Yeah, if they take up the 60-foot highway construction setback.
If you want to try to, did you get that? Okay, second.
All right, we got a motion and a second for final adoption. Any other comments or questions? If not, clerk, will you call the question?
Place one,
Aye.
place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
council president, place four,
Aye.
place five.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion carries. Moving along, item number 7 is an ordinance that the city of Fairhope to establish a fund known as the City of Fairhope Employee Fund. The purpose of the fund shall be to account for the receipt and expenditure of funds derived from sales from vending machines located in all city buildings and facilities. The fund shall be established with funds presently collected from the sales. All right, council, we discussed this in work session. Any other questions?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Ordinance, call.
Oh, yeah, we do got to call that. I'm sorry. So I've got a motion and a second.
I'll introduce the
Did we,
ordinance.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
We didn't even introduce it. Yeah.
Time out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
It hurt?
Oh, you just didn't hear me say it.
I was just clicking, you know, it was just time to go. All right, so the ordinance has been introduced. And so, council, would anyone like to suspend with the rules and vote on this for immediate
I'd like to
consideration?
make that motion.
Okay, yeah, we do have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Does that, and that has to be unanimous, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Vote
Will
against the
you-
council president.
I've already voted for it, it sounds like. All right, so will you call that question, please, for immediate consideration?
Place one,
Aye.
place two,
Aye.
place three.
Aye.
Council president, place four,
Aye.
place five.
Okay.
Aye.
All right, so the motion for immediate consideration has passed, and now I'll entertain a motion for final adoption of this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and will you call the question, please?
Place one,
Aye.
place two,
Aye.
place three.
Aye.
Council president,
Aye.
place four, place five.
Aye.
Thank you.
No, thank you, appreciate it. All right, back on track. Item number 8 is a resolution to award bid number 23-009 to McElhaney Construction Company for Founders Park Athletic Track and additional parking project with a total bid proposal not to exceed $2,480,680.04. Council, we've discussed this a little bit in the work session. Any other comments or
I'm going to
questions?
make a motion to award the bid with the following condition, that the track must be certified to the, help me out here, Jay.
AHSAA.
AHSAA standards for hosting state meets.
And the NCAA? No, okay, I missed the question. Okay. All right.
Should you say that, maybe just say certifiable? Yeah, it'd be, yeah, that the track be certifiable to AHSAA
Standards.
standards.
Got it. Okay.
Discussion.
I do have a motion.
I'll just make a second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, yes. So we were talking about earlier, when we do these projects, and Mr. Johnson was talking about turnkey and what the definition of turnkey is. So we've talked about how we kind of go through projects and pick them apart and this and that. And if I understand, even in this project, we're missing the bleachers, Jay, and the PA system. So what I propose to council, as far as consideration, is, in my due diligence, I think stadium seats are anywhere from $100 to $500 a seat, and a PA or a press box is about $30,000 to $50,000. I propose that we spend the extra $200,000 and complete this project to where when we finish with it, it's done. And it's done, and we're all proud of it, and there's nothing else to go back to do. Since we were using the term turnkey, in my definition, would be that, turnkey. So when we finish with this, these kids can go in, we can have tournaments, everything is done.
And on that note, so does the current design include like restroom at all? It's got restroom.
I think it might have to be rebid if you were to put out something that costs an additional $200,000. I don't know
what the price is,
could,
but I'm just saying
believe
that we
if
can
you're
add to
budgeting
it.
$200,000, you can't do that without a bid.
Okay.
I'm
We can
gonna
add
just
to it.
attempt to talk for a minute.
I'm looking at our lawyers shaking their head, yes, that it would have to be rebid.
Okay. You can put it out separate. but
My
I
recommendation,
see-
and Pat and I were just talking, how about within the next 2 meetings, we can buy grandstands off of government purchasing, as well as, I'm sure, PA systems too, correct, Pat? So how about, because you don't want a GC pricing it out for you, because he's going to buy
have
it probably
his-
for more than we would and then mark it up 20%.
Right.
So
I
it
got
would
it.
be best that, and that was kind of the concept. There is a pad being placed on this contract to support grandstands. It's just like Pat said, he buys those all the time. So we'll have you some prices coming for post-haste.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
All right. We do have a motion and a second. Councilman Martin, were you done with your comments? I'm sorry. Okay. Any other discussion on this track? Number 8. All right.
Sure the motion, acknowledge the motion had a condition on it.
Yeah, to be a certifiable track.
Certifiable.
Sure. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries.
Kind of like Kevin, certifiable.
Item number 9 is a resolution to award bid number 23-14 to Extreme Golf Management for greens drainage project for 9 greens with a total bid proposal not to exceed $103,500. And this is about, what, $15,000 under budget.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 10 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope approves the procurement of equipment for Planters Point Public's lift station from J.H. Wright and Associates for a total not to exceed $163,786. That includes equipment, shipping, and startup only, installation of equipment including piping and valves by others. This equipment is exempt from the formal bidding per Code of Alabama 1975, Section 4116 at 51B7.
So moved.
All right, council, I have
Second.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question. The estimate or the budgeted amount was 103.5, and we exceeded that by 60% roughly. How did we miss the estimate? Did they go up on equipment prices that much on us, or? It's a pretty big miss right there. Anybody answer that?
I think the scope of our participation changed
Yeah.
from the beginning as far as what we were doing. No.
We didn't have, I didn't think it was budgeted.
Yes, our budgeted,
I didn't think
yeah,
it
the
was-
green sheet's 103,000 and it
I
came in
thought it was
163.
unbudgeted, so
It's right there in your.
yeah, I know, I'm just, what are we talking about? What are we talking about here? Because,
I'm talking about missing budget by 60%.
yeah, it's
I've got a
160.
project budget.
I'm seeing the green sheet, it
Yeah,
says
there was-
project budgeted, well, I'm sorry.
It's, yeah, it's,
Yeah, I'm seeing it as.
I see it as a budget, and then the price is that.
Yes.
On mine, I'm not sure. That's why I didn't think it was budgeted.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the number 9, it says, never mind. All right, move on.
Yeah,
Okay.
no worries.
Hey,
That's why I
everybody's,
was. I didn't see
everybody's
anything.
entitled to a little
Don't even ask.
moment.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I was
Everybody's
like, I
entitled.
don't remember, I didn't see anything
For you,
like
be
that.
our
so
hand like white arm.
I read
Don't
this,
ask.
I read this thing.
Don't ask.
All right, guys, I
I wrote
will.
some notes on here, and I wrote it above it, and it was for the Greens.
I will entertain a.
I said, so we got a motion in a
Oh,
second.
I got a motion and a second. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, item number 11 is a resolution that the city council approves the selection of Volkert Inc. to perform professional engineering services for utilities relocation for Baldwin County's County Road 64 widening project, and hereby authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to negotiate the not-to-exceed fee to be approved by council.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, and again, this is reimbursable.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 12 is a resolution that the city council approves the selection of Volkert Inc. to perform professional engineering services for utilities relocation for State of Alabama US 31 project, and hereby authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to negotiate the not-to-exceed fee to be approved by council.
Motion to approve that.
You got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right,
We're on 12, correct?
12,
Okay,
yes.
very good.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 13 is a resolution that the city of Fairhope approves the selection of Watermark Design Group for professional architectural and engineering services for master planning for redevelopment and remodel of the Fairhope K1 Center for the design phase and the construction phase, and hereby authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to execute a contract with a not-to-exceed amount of $151,900.
Make a motion, we approve the selection of Watermark Design Group.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This is over by 35,500.
It is,
The scope change?
well,
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier,
It-
in 35
This
tax.
is one of those projects that we knew was gonna go because the grant can only be spent for part of the money.
Oh, is the budgeted amount the grant amount?
Well, I thought we had this, okay. I'm confused now. This
Well,
is-
no,
No,
wait.
no, no.
We're having to pay for the whole.
No, this is separate,
it
supposedly.
is separate, and I think,
This is not grant money, I don't think. This is separate.
But-
The second one is grant money.
But the grant.
This is
dictates
not
the
grant
budget,
money.
right?
Let's get that clear. This is, I don't think this
Yeah,
is
the-
grant
the
money. That's why
first-
we're doing it,
the
because we
first
want to
one's no
separate.
grant. We
Right.
budgeted right at 175,000, thinking the grant was not going to cover for the design in the first place. We put out for bid for the design, and y'all wanted a master plan of the whole property, to look
Right.
at the whole property. So when I take the difference of what the grant now is going to cover, that's going to take out $58,000, and then it leaves the balance to pay for your master plan. So we are short. We are short because we did add 2 scopes. We added one for the design for the grant piece, but then y'all wanted a whole master plan of the whole property. So you had to do those in 2 separate ones. But we just didn't budget enough for both pieces.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, does the grant pay for a portion of this?
Yes, yes, the grant is paying for 80%, I believe it's an 80% grant for the
I'm so confused right now.
200,000.
93,000. Yeah, and number 14, Jack, that's where the grant's going.
Yeah, well, I mean.
And that's for the building, this is for everything outside the building. So 13 is for everything outside the building, 14 is for the building, and that's what the
Okay,
grant is.
but so the grant's not paying any of the 151.9?
No, no, that is totally, and that grant cannot pay for
Well, you
that
just-
portion.
I thought you just,
We budgeted one line item for,
The whole thing.
yes, in the beginning of the grant talks,
Mhm.
originally, we were told that the grant would not cover the engineering design. Came back later, because we have 2 grants. We got 2 grants going on. And we have a HUD grant that's picking up $750,000, and then we have this other one that's set right at $3 million. Then after they got into all of this, and we got all the grant documents, the grant is paying for the design of the EDA piece. So that is what the grant is paying for. We don't have a grant, and we have to separate, that's the reason it's
That's
separated,
right.
the
So
master
So let's say for the
plan.
it'll pay the 293,
80% of it.
Right.
80% of 293.
Yes,
And we didn't think, and we thought we were gonna have to pay for that originally.
originally.
So now we don't have to pay for 80% of it, but we do have to pay for the master plan because that added to the scope.
Yes, we need all that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So we were short on our budget on the total dollar amount, but we do have to have these as two separate actions.
Yeah.
The reason I ask that is, you know, if the budget amount would have been 120 or 125, it's just a number you throw out there, but when you throw a number of $116,400, it sounds like somebody gave you that number sometime.
We budgeted 175, if I can remember right, and we took out what the balance, what we need for the grant, our shortfall of our
And you
match.
moved it over
You took
there.
Our
20%
And then the
match out.
Over there.
difference, the difference is going towards
So
that.
now we're-
So I'm just trying to make
I got
sense of
you.
where that
Yes.
number, because when that number,
Well,
it tells me
Yeah.
somebody put thought in it, and then when it's different, it's like somebody missed it.
Yeah, I understand
Our
that.
thought
I get
was
it now.
175.
Yeah.
And so the grant, we're gonna be, our match of the grant was the 58, and we took the difference to apply to our master.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you,
You
Council.
added the 60,000 from item.
Yeah, so one thing, Council Chair.
Please.
Before we move, to make sure. Now, Richard, if I may, I just want to clarify this, that in this project, let me see, hold on, I can't get this computer to work. If you go past the green sheet, and then you go to, there's a proposal for professional architecture and engineering that was sent to us, okay? In that proposal, it says project understanding. In the project understanding, about 4 lines, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 5th line down, it says, please note, this project, this proposal does not include work within the basement level, but can be amended,
Uncle, are you
should
looking
work
at-
with those areas that we warranted
Are you looking
during
at-
the phase.
Are you looking at 13 or 14 right now?
I'm at 13.
Yeah, 13 is.
Yeah, so-
You guys think 13 is outside the envelope of the building. So, and it is, you know, the thing is provide a campus master plan to analyze the overall site coordination, circulation, and landscape and stormwater parking, daylight, and more. And then I do want to respond, Ms. Gopher had a question. I will remind you that we have Efferman and Associates who are doing all of our environmental, so that's being taken care of. That's a separate contract. And, you know, we did go through a long stakeholder and community engagement process, but this contract does include provide coordination between the owner's selected team, which is mostly going to be y'all and the mayor, okay, and selected members and committee for the provide unified design approach to the renovation. So there will be engagement, but we're not going to do the whole community thing, because we've done that. We had, you know, y'all derived from it what you wanted to see in this project, and so y'all are going to be the guiding committee to do that. So those items are covered within this.
Well, in the EDA grant, I mean, that covers effectively, that part of the engineering covers the hatch part, but the rest of it covers the remaining campus, the remaining footprint of that property.
That's correct.
There's too much intertwined there, and we had to do that as part of that overall
Yes,
scope.
and, you know, I don't think Thompson would have any objection to striking that language if that, just saying the basement's excluded, because this master planning is for the whole campus to coordinate
Right.
what's FIF's doing, what the hatch part of it's doing, and how we're gonna utilize and program that that facility going in the future, so.
So are you telling me that this language is wrong as far as this project understanding?
Well, it's not moved to the discussion because this contract is for the campus master planning.
Yeah, I think,
Okay, so
I
got you.
think I got questions that are going, I think, get into what you're talking about on 14, but 13,
I sort of,
the
but this-
inside of
yeah.
the building isn't involved at all in
Okay.
13.
Okay. But the basement will be taken care of by 14.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the anticipation is that this hatch project is going to render the basement in developed space, but it's got to render it into a space that can support the use upstairs.
Yeah,
So
and-
meaning that the conditions of the basement have to be such that the building meets code and is safe to use on all levels, yes.
Yeah, and that's just, I want to ask that when we get to 14, because I just want to, because there's a little bit of a discrepancy, I think, in the way it's written, but
Is
I
there
just,
some cut and paste showing up?
yeah, that's what you want to ask about when we get to 14.
Okay, very good.
Very good.
All right,
Thank you,
so as far as
Richard.
13 is concerned, any other, do we have a motion and a second for 13?
Yes.
Okay, all right, any further discussion on number 13? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Item number 14 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope approves the selection of Watermark Design Group and Professional Architectural and Engineering Services, redevelopment and remodel of the Fairhope K1 Center, and hereby authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to execute a contract with a not-to-exceed amount of $293,000, subject to the review and approval of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Economic Development Administration, and must comply with all grant-related laws, regulations, and requirements. I will entertain a motion for number 14.
I make a motion, we approve selection of Watermark Design Group.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I do, Richard, and just, because, you know, when we were reading through this in the work session, if you go back under project understanding, it does have that same sentence about,
Yes.
please note, this proposal does not include work within the basement level, but can be amended.
Yeah.
But then if you go look down under the design phase, it says, upon approval of the schematic plan, provide construction documents, drawings, and specifications for the remediation of the overall roof, basement areas, and ground floor areas that are affected
Yeah.
by the given program for Hatch Fairhope.
And I think that was the intent.
Okay.
You know, and understand as part of the mayor's negotiation, this document went back multiple times, so it got corrected in one
Yeah.
space and didn't get corrected in another.
Well,
Okay,
okay.
We just want to make sure
Yeah,
that, I mean, obviously, I think, Richard.
Do we
I-
need to amend it is what I'm asking.
I think you just strike that.
Okay.
Just, accept it, striking the sentence in the upper paragraph because the
Acknowledging-
scope of services is what we're agreeing to.
Yeah, okay. I got you. All right, so let's maybe amend, who made Jimmy made our motion? So let's maybe entertain amending that to capture what Richard just mentioned.
That's fine, amend it to that.
Okay. Because
Can we just do as they ask us to do and just say that we want the basement in the scope?
But I don't know.
And that's simple as that?
I think that Hatch isn't gonna take the basement, and isn't the EDA tied to what they can take?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess the only,
Or what-
what we're clarifying in my mind is just specifying that it's not, the basement is not off limits. The basement is only going to be fixed to the extent it needs to be fixed to accommodate Hatch being built on the ground
Yeah,
floor.
but right now it's saying that unless we ask them, that's not, what I'm reading, how I read it, and in my opinion, is that's only gonna happen if we amend this and add it to the project scope. I mean, I
I
don't,
think we need to amend it and include, said it has to include design elements, critical, design elements within the basement critical to the, not success, to the,
But I think that's in the design, that's under the scope of services. What you're just saying is in there under, upon approval of the schematic plan, provide construction documents, drawings, and specifications for the remediation of the overall roof, basement areas, and ground floor areas that are affected by the given program for Hatch Fairhope. So I think I read that to say
It's
they've got to-
contradicting itself.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why
That's all
I
I'm
think
saying.
Richard's proposal of taking that out, striking that sentence in the project understanding,
As long as it's in there,
Eliminate-
I
Do we
think that's
not
the right
say
move.
that in the motion?
that's what
though?
we're just saying.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
we
saying.
we
I
need to,
think
we need to
we need to
amend
have
the
that.
motion to say that.
Yes, that's all I'm asking.
Okay, so,
You want me, so I make a motion to amend our language by striking out, the proposal does not include work within the basement level, but can be amended. I think that whole sentence needs to be stricken.
okay. All right, we have, Jimmy's motion is now,
Amended a
Move.
third time?
and Corey has now got a motion
For an amendment.
for an amendment. All right, we've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussion?
I mean, I think they'll have to eventually deal with the basement to make sure that everything is
Well, I
Correct.
do.
solid.
It was just a little bit of contradiction, just making
Right,
sure that we
right.
were on the same.
Just making sure.
I completely agree. All right, council, with no further discussion, all those in favor of 14, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Item number 15 is a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to execute a South Alabama Mutual Assistance Agreement between the City of Fairhope and among the counties, towns, and cities of the South Alabama Mutual Assistance Compact to provide and receive mutual aid as a result of, quote, disasters, close quote. This is a housekeeping matter.
So moved.
All right, got
Second.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Can we include discussions of our jurisdiction in that agreement? Just say, need the county to work with us?
Are they included in the counties, towns, and cities?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 16 is a resolution that the City of Fairhope declares a Lenovo ThinkPad T470 city asset number T0139 as surplus, and the mayor and city treasurer are hereby authorized and directed to dispose of personal property, hereby amends the 2023 annual appropriation to the Fairhope Airport Authority to include a transfer of said personal property at fair market value, and transfers said personal property for fair market value to the Airport Authority, and shows that the annual appropriation has been increased by the same amount.
So moved.
All right, I've got a
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Again, this is something we discussed in the work session. All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, next item up is number 17, is a resolution that the city council authorizes and approves adding a temporary part-time overlap position of station control tech digital forensic, pay grade 9 per hour for current employee DJ White, and allows him to work with and train the new station control tech digital forensic employee that will benefit the city as well as the new hire. The temporary overlap position will expire in 6 months after the date of city council approval, with a cost for the additional temporary overlap position not to exceed $1,500.
Is that 9 per hour, or is that 9, pay grade of 9 per HR?
Yeah, I'm sorry, pay grade 9 per HR.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
was gonna say, they just quit.
Look,
I mean, I was like, man, we got to do a better job we that's we got to do a better job. Nobody wants to come here.
I make a motion.
We need to fix that now.
I thought that seemed like a pretty good deal.
Introduce the resolution.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
All right. Any further discussion outside of making fun of me?
I hate that we're losing DJ. I hate that. I hate that. I hate to hear that, but you know.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Follow the rules.
Motion carries. Oh, man, it's been a good one so far. All right, number 18 is an application for restaurant liquor license by Jenna Lane Rachel, the venue Fairhope LLC, located at 105 South Section Street, Fairhope, Alabama, 36532. Chief has told us this is all in order. So
Make
I'll
a
entertain
move to make a motion.
All right, got a
Second.
motion
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item number 19 is a request, the Thomas Hospital Foundation requests approval to serve beer on city property contingent on Bottles Up bar service getting one-time event license from ABC and the City of Fairhope for the Thomas Hospital Foundation Cornhole for a Cause tournament on March 25th, 2023.
Make a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion?
No, I just didn't know if y'all had any questions. I was just being good.
Sure.
We just want to play cornhole and drink beer.
Sounds good.
That sounds, you did,
I was
scared.
Amen.
Look, I was worried for a minute.
No, I don't want to build anything.
All right.
Yeah, it's all.
Might be the truest statement ever spoken in the council
Right.
chambers.
Hey, you got my vote.
Uh,
Y'all want to have a team, let me know.
Sure.
All right, I do have a motion and a second.
I was in trouble.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Great intimidation, my tactic, you know.
Solid,
Top of the agenda.
solid presentation.
I mean,
That's why I get paid to do.
All right, guys, item number 20 is public participation for non-agenda items. If we have not entertained you enough, now's your opportunity. All right, seeing nobody, closed. Item 21 is an executive session, and I'll read the letter. As City Attorney I, Marcus E. McDowell, hereby request the Fairhope City Council go into executive session based on Alabama Code Section 36-25A, 7A6 to discuss the consideration the city is willing to offer or accept when considering the purchase, sale, exchange, lease, or market value of real property. The discussions could have a detrimental effect upon the competitive position of the city in the negotiations if the matter was discussed in public. And Section 3625A 7A3 to discuss pending and potential litigation. As city attorney, I hereby request that the city council of the city of Fairhope rise from a regular city council meeting on Monday, February 13th, 2023 to go into executive session. The city council shall be in executive session for approximately 60 minutes. At the end of the executive session, the city council shall return to the city council chambers to resume the regular city council meeting. All right, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Everybody's back. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Meeting's adjourned.